Good evening. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Board Secretary caused notice of the meeting to be given to the public and the press on January 3rd, 2024, and revised on February 16, 2024. The public comment format for this meeting is as follows. Attendees wishing to comment during the public sessions will state their name and address. The President of the Board of Education will recognize the attendee at the appropriate time. All of the board's policies and regulations related to public participation in board meetings shall remain in effect, including but not limited to the presiding officer's ability to limit each statement made by a participant to a 3-minute duration. Before we do roll call, I think we need a motion to go back into open. Yeah.
Motion to go back into public session. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Rubin and seconded by Mrs. Turnbull. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We can go to roll call. Thank you.
Vice President Gamarikian, absent. Mr. Fernandez, absent. Mr. Munoz, absent. Mrs. Rubin?
Here.
This is weird. Mrs. Saha?
Here.
Sorry. Mrs. Silva? Here. Mrs. Turnbull?
Here.
Mrs. Oltarsky?
Here.
And President Murphy, absent.
Great. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Callis, do you have any communications for us today?
Yes. In your board packet, you received articles on the following topics: state and federal decisions affecting New Jersey schools, school segregation lawsuit, opinions of New Jersey student mental health program, state BOE changes, advancement of literacy bill, electric school bus bill, and school ethics decisions. New Jersey School Boards is also offering some seminars in August, so if anyone's interested, please let me know and I can get you registered. And I have an addenda for tonight's meeting. Number 38, resignation. 39, settlement agreement. 40, staff appointment. 41, professional development. And 42, athletic coaches.
Thank you. I need a motion for the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of June 24th, 2024. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Rubin and seconded by Mrs. Turnbull. Any discussion, anything? But I'm abstaining. I was not there. Any other? All in favor?
Aye. 4 and 1 abstention.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Goldberg, Superintendent's report.
Good evening. Nice to see folks joining us on our first board meeting of the 24-25 school year. I am going to start here. And welcome everybody, as we do, with the start of our vision and our mission, that we are cultivating compassionate and extraordinary learners. And our mission is to challenge every student through meaningful, engaging experiences, empowering all students to flourish and contribute in an evolving world. This summer has already been a really fabulous time for that. And tonight it's going to be brief, but highlighting some of the things that we're really excited about that have been happening over the last month. So first and foremost, I want to do a huge thanks to Ms. Wendy Garrod, as well as all of the staff and folks that came and participated in the Bulldog Summer Program. I would like to turn this over to Ms. Scudero to just share some of the highlights and some of the excitement that occurred with learning this summer.
Well, we concluded on Wednesday. Some students were crying because they didn't want to leave. It was nice because they really had a great time. They were excited from the very first day. It was nice. We had robotics, we had enrichment, we had transition. We continued our high impact program that we had throughout the year. So we were able to do small groups over the summer. So there was a lot going on. The students made games. They had archery, so it was Olympic theme based, as Dr. Goldberg was discussing Paris before. So it was just a nice closing. And as you said, Ms. Farad did a fabulous job. It was seamless. There's a lot of work that goes into scheduling, the teachers planning, coming up with the themes, making it fun and engaging, getting all the information out to parents. So it was really well run. And thank you to, of course, Mrs. Menino, who made sure all the supplies were ordered. The custodians prepared all of the rooms. They brought over materials, and of course, the students, who were the rock stars. And the teachers, again, they were great. They were really good.
I'm going to point out a couple things. Number one, in this one picture, you have someone in a blue shirt sitting with a group of 3. That's one of our high school students. One of the joys of visiting the summer program is seeing our JDHS students come out and work with students. It's really incredible, and they are they're a super important part of this summer program. They serve as role models and really help inspire the kids. And they work with them on math games and reading, and they're incredible.
From walking them to the bathroom to helping parents. There were at least 3 or 4 in every classroom.
It makes me it's proud, and they have a good time. And
They do.
that's what's really amazing. I also just want to point out what you can't really see so well under where it says basketball. Those are actually STEM projects where the students have to devise a way to get something into the hoop. And so each of those are differently done by students who developed it during the summer program. And so it makes me really excited because one of the big pieces that has been a part of the summer program for the last 4 years has really been this whole context of making something for students to make and for other students to engage in. And so the archery were all done by students with different values in between the numbers, and just an incredible opportunity for students to have
The
a
students
really
get
good
to
time
experience
learning.
each other's projects, which
Yeah.
is great.
It's a joy. Thank you so much to everybody who participated, and we look forward to continuing to post some pictures. Facilities updates. Our facilities team has been incredibly busy this summer. Some of the things I'm showing you here are just completed. There are quite a few projects that are still underway. I'm going to start at the top. The gym floors at FMG and JDHS have been refinished. As members of our community know, that was sorely needing to be done, and the floors look really beautiful. So we'll be excited to welcome our community members and, most importantly, our students. You'll see that the windows haven't been started yet. We are awaiting the delivery of the CalWall products and are continuing to hope that that will be completed by the start of the school year. Down below, you'll see the field house exterior. That includes the new windows, the new doors, the new roof. Every part of it has been rehabbed brilliantly. What we're very excited about is that our students are going to be able to utilize this in the fall. The rehabilitation, we still have plans and have the funding as set in the budget to continue the renovation, but right now the indoor part is usable, and I had the honor of talking to some students, and they actually stopped me in the driveway and said, is this going to be ready for football? And we said, yeah, you'll get to go in there for football season. So phase 2 will start after football season, but for now we're really excited, and we have a functional building that will be ready to support students for many years. The softball and baseball fields at Sandmeyer, in between Sandmeyer and Walton, have been rehabilitated. So these pictures don't do it justice because it was not in great shape, and so now it looks great. They've redone it so that we can take the bases off when not in play, which means that we'll be able to better utilize the field. And in conversation with at least one other community member, at some point we may engage our community members to help us with basic upkeep. If there's weeds and you see them, pull them. Our staff is actually working to support the rest of our schools. So while we really want these facilities ready, it is a community effort, but we're really glad to be able to offer new, improved, higher quality. And I say new, improved, still the same thing, just ready for play. The next picture up, you see new ceilings at FMG. Throughout FMG, we have put in drop ceilings. They've cleaned up the spaces and brightened them up dramatically. So there's no, it's no understatement to say how valuable that really is, and it really makes our classrooms look great. New classrooms at Caldwell are well underway. There's the HVAC is the big gray unit. It has been installed, and the new classrooms, as you can see, they're still doing wiring. Flooring was laid and was being finished today, so I actually couldn't go downstairs, but all of the drywall has been done, the venting has been done, and we're looking forward to opening those classrooms up in the fall. Some of the other pieces of work that have been happening, you'll notice in the one picture there is a flat screen in there. Across the schools, we've added flat screens in, I believe, Michelle, can you tell me what our exact number is? Do you remember? I'm sorry, I didn't prompt you for that. At least 50 of the New Vision interactive screens have been added across classrooms. We prioritize the middle and the high school so that all of those classrooms will have that, and we're moving it. I'm sorry? And grades 2 and up. Oh, sorry. We prioritized that in the beginning, but then we were able to utilize the funding efficiently and are now in grades 2 and higher. So really exciting. Those have all been installed to my knowledge. Did we have anything waiting? Were we waiting at?
The last delivery was today.
Okay.
Installation will start next week.
For the last delivery.
For all.
I thought we'd
Half the schools have already.
half the schools. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So that's underway. We still have a month to go. We have quite a few projects still going, especially those that are referendum related, and we will continue to update everybody. I wanted to give everybody an update about what they can also expect this summer, which is a residency re-registration process. As we've shared previously, we have transitioned to a new student information system that's going to allow us to better manage all of our student information. And in doing this, it provides a really critical opportunity for us to ask families to provide residency documentation. And so we will be communicating with our families specifically regarding what residency documentation to provide. We want to make sure everybody has plenty of notice. There will be scheduled times for families to come in. There is a very clear process for uploading the documentation, scheduling a short time period, bringing the documentation for confirmation, and then we're able to move forward. We know that this is can be a bit of a challenge, and we'll be, as much as we can, make sure that we're trying to help families schedule. But it is really critical to us as we move forward, especially as we're looking at shifting district lines, realignment. It's really essential that we ensure that all of the students that we are providing for are students who are residents here in Springfield. I want to note that this is also going to be applicable to students who are attending out of district schools, charter schools, who receive transportation payments. So any community member who functionally is supported by school tax dollars will be requested to share their residency information so that we can confirm that they're eligible for those. There will be opportunities for questions. More information will be coming out, but we just want to make sure that everybody knows and has this on their radar. We may not be complete with this before the beginning of school, but we will aim to do so. And if we need to continue it through the fall, then we will. It's going to be based on personnel and scheduling for our community. Mark your calendars. Wednesday, September 4th is our elementary meet and greets, and we welcome our students back to school on September 5th. Before I conclude, I want to point out a couple highlights that are in our board agenda. First of all, a lot of the work that we're talking about you can see in the contracts that are approved in the board agenda. And then there's two important pieces in the board agenda that I wanted to ask Ms. Scudero to talk about. First is the increase in funding to a special grant for our computer science program. And then the second is I'd like you to share a bit about what curriculum changes. You'll notice that there is quite a list in our in our board agenda of curriculum updates, and I'm like Ms. Scudero to share a bit about what was happening in those updates.
Sure. So, at the last board meeting, I believe we approved the acceptance of the computer science grant. So with that, we received $17,274. In addition to that, Dr. Goldberg received an email that we actually received additional money, so $5,927, so bringing it to $23,201. So Mr. Salmon and I went back to the drawing board and just added more components to the course. So we were able to purchase more materials for the course, provide the teacher more opportunity to write the curriculum. Of course, we have the students registered for the class, which is nice. I think we're up to 25 for that class. Yeah, we had to guarantee.
Can you
22.
share with everybody the title of the course again?
The cybersecurity.
The cybersecurity.
Yes, very exciting. The state was actually very excited about it. They sent an email. They were intrigued by our application. They'd like to come visit. They'd like to see the class. So it was nice to receive the additional funds, but we needed to go back to the drawing board a little bit and modify a purchase. So that was nice. It was a nice
Very
email.
exciting.
Yeah. So we did submit that. So that was approved. As far as curriculum, so you did receive ELA. So in 2023, state approved new standards. So you'll see for ELA and math. The next board meeting, unfortunately, you'll see math and science. ELA, not as many changes. It's geared towards literacy development and the enhancement of literacy development. So at some points it could just be words, and at other points they added standards. So our teachers had a double whammy to say. They had to update the curriculum, and it needs to be implemented for September, the ELA curriculum. But along with that, we purchased a new program, K-5. So it was my view. So now they had to incorporate the standards as well as update the entire curriculum based on the new program. So they had double the work, and they did a phenomenal job. They started early. They had the program early. They had access to the material, and they had the standards. So we had a group work throughout the year, and then they completed work over the summer. So I do have a copy of the standards. The state did a great job with the crosswalk, so without me getting into all of this, it's K through 5. It's embedded in the memo, the link to the state website, but I also have a paper copy if anyone's interested. It's 2023 aligned to the 2016, so you can see the changes. They're in bold. They go by domain, and they actually give a nice brief description right after. It's very easy to read. So we'll have that for math as well. So at the next board meeting, you'll have math and science. So of course, to meet the state mandate, we need to, obviously upon your approval, implement in September.
And I just wanted to note that I had the honor of working with a group of people on the literacy legislation that has been passed by both the Assembly and the State Assembly and the Senate. And I can say that our curriculum and our program fully meets all of the criteria that's established in that legislation. So I think there's an enormous amount to be proud of in terms of the work. It is heavy on putting in the foundational literacy skills in the early grades, and we'll be continuing to see that work. Thank you to all of the teachers that put in the enormous amount of time to work through both new curriculum, new knowledge and skills with all of their training that they received in early literacy, as well as the new state standards. So thank you very much.
And Ms. Shiano and Ms. Seo Afaro, who is not here this evening, they have been going through all of the material and ensuring that we have it ready for the teachers upon their arrival.
Yeah, so I'm going to just double that gratitude to Ms. Chihi Seo Alfaro, our Director of I'm tongue-tied, Early Childhood Education and Elementary Education, and Ms. Candace Shiano, our Supervisor of Humanities. Really incredible work by the teams of people, so please accept my gratitude. I would say, are there any other questions before I conclude?
Yeah, just about the re-registration.
Yes.
Put your mic on. Oh, yes.
About the re-registration. So you said, there will be in-person stuff. Is it also you can do it completely remotely or is everything has to be made an appointment in person to come with?
No, there has to be a final viewing of the original documentation. It is much easier for us for people to upload that so that we can review it and have it there to just be able to confirm as a confirmatory measure. If people don't feel comfortable uploading that documentation for whatever reason, then they'll bring it in person. One way or another, it does require an in-person visit, which is why we're going to try to make sure that we have hours that are flexible for families.
Okay, so it will be open-ended hours where people come in, or were there like appointments that people have to make? How is it?
No, it won't be appointments, it'll be,
There's like a block open, you come in, wait in line,
Yep.
whatever.
there'll be specific nights.
Okay.
We'll,
Just
we'll
to make
have
sure
we'll
we
be
have a plan.
we'll be communicating very clearly when people can come.
Okay.
The major goal is to not have people waiting, so that it's expeditious, that it is easy. This is not something where you're coming in and filling in paperwork again. This is basically confirming documentation that establishes residency in Springfield. All right, and with that, I conclude the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Can I get a motion? Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great. Thank you. So at this time, it is time for public session input on agenda items. Right, I went to the right place. It is the policy of this board that inappropriate comments regarding specific individuals not be made during the public portion of the meeting. You should be advised that to the extent, members of the public should be advised that to the extent they defame any employee of this district or member of the community, board disclaims any liability if you're involved in a civil suit for defamation. As a reminder, all of the board's policies and regulations related to public participation shall remain in effect, including but not limited to the presiding officer's ability to limit each statement made by a participant to a 3-minute duration. So if you have anything that's on the agenda that you'd like to address the board on, this is the time to do that. We ask you just to come up to the mic and give us your name and street address. Anyone? Going. What is it?
My first meeting. Can you bring up something that's not on the agenda?
There's going to be another public comment session after we kind of go through all the board business agenda items, and that's when you can address those. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Okay. With that said, we're going to move on to the business portion of the meeting. And first off is board governance, policy, and communications. I am going to go ahead and move these. Items 1 through 17, that's agenda items 1 through 17, plus addendum 38 to 42. A second. Moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Turnbull. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Callis, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Rubin,
Yes.
Mrs. Saha,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull,
Yes.
and Mrs. Zolotarski.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody. And now we have school administration, academic programs, and athletics. I'm going to go ahead and move this also because Vice President Gamrigan is not here at this time. Could I get a second? This is items 18 through 29.
Second.
Moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Turnbull. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Callis, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Rubin,
Yes.
Mrs. Saha,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull,
Yes.
and Mrs. Zolotarski.
Yes.
Great. Next up is finance, facilities, and security. Mrs. Zolotarski, could I ask you to move those items, please?
I move items 30 through 37 for roll call.
Moved by Mrs. Zolotarski and seconded by Mrs. Rubin. Any discussion?
I just want to add, before, if there is any discussion, budget transfers will be removed. You need 6 members for
I
that
see.
vote, so 33 will be pulled.
Okay. Do we need to amend the motion?
No, I'll just
Yeah, okay, great. All right. Any further discussion? Ms. Callis, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Rubin?
Yes.
Mrs. Saha?
Yes.
Mrs. Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
And Mrs. Zolotarski?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So we are back to the second open public session. So if you are a member of the public who wishes to address the board on any matter at this time, please come up to the podium and state your name and street address. Yeah.
Here.
Right there. She's going to help you with the mic, which is a little trickier than it should be.
Hi, I haven't been to one of these meetings in over 30 years. So
Welcome.
thank you. My name is Janie Jonas. I live at 22 Skylark Road, and I've been a resident of Springfield for over 40 years. I'm also one of the permanent substitute teachers, especially at Walton. I don't want to say anything wrong because I love my job. I just have a couple of things that I was questioning. First of all, the aftercare program. I'm here representing a group of parents that were so frustrated that they got locked out of this program almost immediately online. Incorrect dates were given for people to sign up. Everybody was given a different date. Lots of people called. Somebody was given July 8th. Somebody was given July 10th. We found out actually it was in June. Nobody had any clue. So now we have a lot of little people, like 4-year-olds, that have no place to go at 3 o'clock. And I was just trying to find out. I did call the woman, but I think she was a little bit annoyed that I questioned. They couldn't even get on a waiting list, okay? My question is, why are we not able to accommodate people that need the program, being they're paying for it? And also told last year that because the schools were being split up and all the young kids weren't going to be in one school and it would be evenly distributed, that there shouldn't be any problem at all. And there's a problem all across the board. So my question is, how can we fix that?
Thank you.
Okay. No,
I don't know.
I'm sure you don't have an answer.
Do we want to look into it? Okay, we'll come back to the
Okay.
question of the
And
response. Do you have another question?
One little thing, okay.
Of course.
I'm a substitute teacher now. Before this, I was for 35 years a director of a JCC. So I come with a lot of experience. I came to sub because during COVID, I left. I just was a little burnt out. It was a big job, and I love subbing. But I was sort of surprised that none of the substitute teachers are interviewed before they walk into the building. And I hired, I can't tell you how many thousands of people in a community center for camp and childcare and aftercare. I never hired anybody without seeing them. Okay, the paperwork that they're not a criminal and that they paid their $125 and they have at least 60 credits is basically all you need. And it gets approved, and then they go on the list. I had experience in some of the schools that there were some teachers, I'm not mentioning, that honestly, they probably, I don't know how they even got in. There was one teacher that I asked her where she was from because she was just extremely inappropriate. And she said, well, I interviewed in my own town. I said, oh. I said, how come you're not working there? She said, well, they never called me. And here she comes into our town without any screening and is probably doing the same thing here, why they didn't hire her in her own town. So I was just wondering, and not maybe a handbook, maybe some orientation, just something, so when somebody walks into a building the first day at 10 after 8 to handle a class at 8:30, that they have an idea what your policies are, where you're going, what you're doing, where to park, your policy about children. Just generally, I feel that it would be maybe helpful to have something that you can hand out to them or at least meet them before they walk into the building. That's all. I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And thank you for being a sub. We appreciate that very much. Anyone else have any questions or comments at this time?
I don't speak English fluently, and I'm sorry. I am about
Just start
What language?
Georgian.
Georgian.
I'm sorry. I was like, we have a lot of languages around here.
Russian too.
Please
I'm
give us your name. Your name.
no, I can. I'm understand English. I'm about here my kids. I live in.
Can I? I'm gonna interrupt you. I'm sorry. I need your name and your street address, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Eka, Eka, and last name Nozadze. I live in Wabino Avenue in apartments.
Okay.
I've been here around 6 years. I'm about my kids. My daughter, who is 5th grader from September, she's going in Caldwell School. And my young son, he just finished Walton School, and they send in St. Meyer. And my question is why I can drop same time my two kids to different school, and why I can pick up.
Because they start at the same time.
Yeah, and I live in Wabino Avenue.
Yeah.
For me, it's better if my both kids to went in Caldwell School. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And anyone else have anything at this time? Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
David Anesta, 21 Moulter Avenue, Springfield. In the greater scheme of things, what I'm going to complain about is probably not that bad. But this morning I got up and I decided I was going to buy school supplies for my kids, my two kids who go to first grade and third grade. And the school supply lists are almost impossible to fulfill as they are written. And I'm happy to send an email to everyone to explain in detail what I mean, but I can give an example. For first grade, it says praying markers. And the perfectionist that I am, when it says praying markers, I decide I'm going to get praying markers. And it is almost impossible to find praying markers for a reasonable price online anywhere. And I'm not really going to go hunting at all of the art stores to get praying markers. I'm going to get my kid Crayola markers. I guess my point is can it just say 12 washable markers? Another example is for third grade. It says here it says 3 Dixon pencils, number 2 sharpened Oriole latex free. Well, it's another brand thing where that brand is more expensive because it's more difficult to get. So my kid's going to get something else, Target brand probably. Could it just say number 2 pencils, 12 of them? And this is the other one that really bothers me. For third grade, it says 1 sheet of 40 blank labels. There's nowhere where you can buy 1 sheet of 40 blank labels. So I bought a 25 pack. And that's pretty expensive. And if every parent has to buy a 25 pack, that could be a burden for some, I think. Now, my wife, some of you know my wife, she will probably post on the moms group the other 24 sheets for free if anyone wants to pick them up. But you know, anything that can be done, I think, to make that list realistic and simpler, I think would be a benefit, because I wasted a lot of time researching praying markers because I didn't know what they were. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna close public session for now, and then we're gonna address some of the things that came up. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna turn things over to Dr. Goldberg.
Thank you. I'm just going to briefly respond. I'm going to kind of start backwards. So, Mr. Nesta, thank you. You're right. We can clarify. as a parent that has given up on getting the appropriate things anyway for my 3 children. Sorry. To all of their teachers in the universe who have had dealt with me as their parent, I can only agree that it is easier to have a more simplified and basic on some level list, especially given that the state decided to not provide the tax holiday for families. So being very thoughtful of that, I think it's really important. So I'm going to ask Ms. Scudero tomorrow, can we follow up, please, with the schools? And then let's double check the website to make sure that any of those are updated to be a little more user-friendly. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Ms. Nazardi? Did I say it terribly wrong? Ms. Nazardi? Is that okay? Did I say it?
It's okay.
Okay. I wrote it down and I'm really trying, but I realized I didn't hear well. So this is on our website, all of the realignment. It's a very difficult thing for many families as we're trying to balance our classrooms. For families at Caldwell, they know that we have been bursting at the seams at Caldwell for a very long time, but this is even more challenging this coming year. We have over 35 students that were registered to come in before students moved in or out of the district. And the school just can't continue to have the way that the district was separated, that school in particular. We weren't going to be able to continue to send kids there in the same zone, which is part of the reason for us doing the realignment. So unfortunately, we're not able to help by sending kids to the same school. We are separating the start times. And so there will be an earlier start time, and I believe that that should be sent out very shortly. And so let me note that I should have put this in tonight's agenda for all of those that are listening, but the start time at Caldwell is going to be, I believe it is 8:25. Wait, I'm looking at you and I am just coming back in the office. It is 10 minutes earlier than the current time. So that way, Sandmeyer's start time stays the same, so there's at least 10 minutes between the two, and Walton's start time stays the same. So in addition, we will be offering breakfast at Caldwell. Specifically, it's because of the number of students that are eligible for free and reduced price lunch has put us over a certain caveat, but that also allows for any family that wants to take advantage. And so there will be the ability for families to drop students off at Caldwell, possibly a little bit earlier. So we hope that that will help a little bit, but we recognize that this is a challenge. And as we're working to try to manage use of our spaces more effectively, we also want to value class sizes and making sure that there's some equity across our schools in those class sizes. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's not the answer you'd like, but we do want to make sure families have enough time to get to the different places and to provide some opportunities. So you're welcome. It's 8:25. I started to say 7:25. I'm like, no, that's high school. It's 8:25 is the start time for Caldwell. Sandmeyer is 8:35 and Walton is 8:50. So for anybody that's wondering, the only school that's seeing a change in the start time in the coming year will be Caldwell.
Wait, before you move on. So you said free and reduced breakfast at Caldwell. Does
Yes.
that mean that all of our elementaries, only
No.
at Caldwell?
No,
Okay.
only at Caldwell. Yeah. And so now, Ms. Jonas, I'm going to come to you.
So to piggyback on the breakfast program, Caldwell, the Department of Agriculture is mandating that Caldwell offer breakfast. So 30 minutes before the start time, any student that would like to purchase and/or are eligible for free and reduced lunch would then be eligible for free and reduced breakfast. And/or if you want your child to goes to Caldwell, you can also pay. It's $3 for breakfast at Caldwell. No, they're not
required
eligible.
to do that.
I just wanted to clarify too, the start time for Sandmeyer is changing because it's
No.
always been 8:40.
I'm sorry, it's 8:40. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to.
Well, all of that will be coming out in the school handbooks and in clarification, but I realized that I didn't have it in tonight's presentation, and I think it speaks directly to concerns that any families have in making sure that we don't have Sandmeyer and Caldwell starting at the same time, but it also allows then for families to do drop-offs appropriately. So, Ms. Jonas, I'm at the meeting. When I see you at school, I promise I'll call you Janie then. If you'll call me Rachel, then we'll be okay. So a couple pieces. I think I know for a fact that our information about aftercare was on the website for quite a while. We changed the process this year. And in fact, I mentioned that we had changed the process at a board meeting. We noted then, and this is probably in April, I want to say, that we noted that we were changing the process for before and after care registration, specifically because of feedback that we'd gotten from our families. We have a lot of families that, as you know, every year before and after care is a big piece. I will say that it is not a part of our regular program. It is not something that we are required to offer. It is not something that tax dollars pay for. It is a completely separate, self-sufficient, I'd say self-sufficient, self-standing program that isn't a part of our regular operating procedures. That's really important because when we start talking about what we have and are mandated to offer our taxpayers, we are not mandated to offer before and after care. I'm proud of the work that happens with our before and after care. I'm deeply grateful for the staff that work it. And it comes with a lot of drama, I'll say, because it's hard for families. I'm a parent of 3 kids who I've spent a lot of money and time over the years trying to manage 2 working parent schedules. So I personally understand that deeply and acknowledge it. Our challenge is we only have so many spots, and especially when we're talking about in June or July, planning for how many staff members that we're going to be that have committed for September is hard because we have quite a few staff members that may say, I'm not sure if I want to work that yet. And we may not know about that until now or until right before school starts. We can't reasonably, we're required by the state to follow a child care licensing provision, which has a certain staff to student ratio. We can't overpromise because the worst thing that could happen would be to say to families, oh, we promised you before aftercare and now we can't give it to you because we don't have the staff. So one of the pieces that we have done very conservatively is to make sure that we open enough spots to functionally guarantee, right, that we're not going to tell those parents you can't come now because we don't have staff. But what it also means is that we do have a functional wait list. I will tell you, if anybody has told anybody that there's not a wait list or that someone can't get on the wait list, I would be deeply upset. I have seen the wait list. I have answered questions from parents that have reached out to me directly regarding where they are on the wait list. So I know that there is a functional wait list. So I'm concerned that there's misinformation going out about what this happens. I can't say it enough. Like, I've seen the wait list. I was away for the last week, and one of the first questions I asked this morning to Ms. Menino is, how are we doing on staffing for before and after care? Because I know that it's a really critical piece. I'm going to come back to people are paying. Yes, people are paying. We offer actually below market costs. Our before and after care is not as expensive as a wide number of places, and we're proud to be able to offer that to our community. But it's also important to know that it's not a guarantee. There's just no guarantee. One of the big pieces of feedback that we've gotten from families, and families, especially those that have multiple children that are in different grades, is how hard it is every year to have to enter a lottery when they've already depended on it. And so one of the things that we did this year was have some level of priority for our families that are already in the system. We felt like that is the fairest thing to do. Because they have already set a work plan in some cases around that level of childcare. Does it mean that our families that are coming in new, especially with the expanded preschool, have a harder time? Yes, it does. And and we have more students now that are asking for it because we have more students in the system with a full day of preschool. We're really happy to be able to offer that to our community. I think as we look at communities around us that don't even have a full day kindergarten program yet, we have full day preschool and full day kindergarten. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do. But it does mean that at some point in time, people are going to be frustrated with how much we can offer, but we'll continue to try. So I want to just kind of note that that's where we are. We are calling people on the wait list when spots open up and when we hire new staff. I don't have those numbers. Last year, I started the year with those numbers. I need to go back. I'll have numbers to know where we are, and I keep track of those throughout the school year. So at any point in time, people can, unfortunately, comment has ended. And so unfortunately, public comment has ended. So we can't take questions from the audience. Yeah, so I'm sorry. That's why I wait to just make sure that I've gotten through. Sometimes it's the same question over and over, and I want to group. So then the next piece was on the substitute process. So we do have to do a full background check. Our substitutes go through a fingerprint process. There is, at the very least, certainly a conversation on the phone. And whenever possible, we do actually do an interview. It doesn't happen. It may not happen in person with the level of frequent because we'll get 20 people at a time. And I say, I want to be a substitute. And then we have the preliminary process, and then they never show up. It is a huge challenge. We have people listed on our substitute list that actually never show up and never come to be a substitute. I'll say you make some important points that we've been working on and will continue to work on. I do believe that at most of the schools there is a substitute folder that you get that should have some information in it regarding the school. You should be given that folder when you get there. You should be meeting with the school principal. We have some substitutes that we have not invited back. That is absolutely true. We've had regular people that have gone through extensive interview processes that haven't been invited back, but there's always room for growth. So I appreciate your feedback there and know that we'll certainly take a look at how we can improve the process. I will note that tonight's board agenda included a contract with a group called Swing Education, which does a substitute finding and support process. And so I'm excited about that because they do a separate protocol in and above whatever we do. So I'm excited to be working with them to see if that can help us strengthen the number of substitutes and access to the number of substitutes that we get, as well as the process and communication. But I heard and understood and acknowledged, and I think we can do better. So we will work to do that. And I think that covers your questions more or less. I want to just, if the board members need any clarification on my statements, please feel free. But otherwise, I hope that provides some information to our community at large.
I just want to say the bit about aftercare, because we did have some of these concerns last year come up a lot, and there was a lot of changes. And I think there was, in fact, additional staff hired over last year. Am I right? There was more staff hired this year to accommodate the numbers, but it is true that, we can't guarantee aftercare to everybody because it is a separate program. It is completely separate.
Correct.
But as far as I know, that as we were kind of reviewing the feedback from last year, that was one of the things. There was an expansion. There was a sort of incentive to get more staff on board to do aftercare, so we could accommodate more students.
And as we hire staff, our ratio is 10 to 1. That's 10 parents that we can call. And we
Gotcha.
do get parents that decide and they change their mind, and then we move on to the list. So it depends. And we're always advertising for positions. We've had people post it on Mom's Facebook. So if you know of anyone, we have them come forward, and sometimes they become aides in the district, so they get stolen because they're there during the day because they are that good, or they're looking for more permanent positions. So we work with each other to try and find people, all the departments. I do have numbers.
I was just pulling up, I see that Patty
Oh.
uploaded it.
Yeah, so,
I'm happy to share.
sure.
So I do have the current data. We currently have across all three schools 146 students enrolled in before care, 241 enrolled in aftercare. So we've already significantly exceeded our number of spots that we have right now from where we were 1 year ago. 1 year ago, we had we ended the school year at 226 students in aftercare, to give you an idea. So the fact that we're already at 241 means that we've already extended beyond the number that we ended the year with. So I'm really proud of that. And a big kudos to Ms. Menino and Ms. Scudero for outreach and interview. Aftercare wait lists right now, at Walton, I've got a wait list of 28 students for aftercare. I have no students on a wait list for before care. At Sandmeyer, I have no students on the before care wait list. I have 8 students on the aftercare wait list. At Caldwell, I have no students on the before care wait list. I have 12 students on the aftercare wait list. As in regards to our preschool groups, we have 24 students at Walton, 10 at Sandmeyer, and 8 at Caldwell. We're doing a specifically separate preschool before and aftercare program due to the age of the students. And so this gives you a bit of information. We're actually at more students than we were last year, which makes me very happy and proud, and glad that I could deliver that news. Know that we're continuing to hire people.
And I guess in addition to all the shortages that all the districts around us are seeing, I would note that, like, when my kids were aftercare age, that there were in fact several more aftercare and before care programs in the area that we could use. It wasn't, we went through the Y, there were all kinds of, my kids used to go to the Summit Y after school. They used to be bused there. A lot of those programs are not operating anymore, and that is part of the reason that we're seeing the pressure on the before and after care, but we can only do so much. So that's the situation as it is. We have, as we see with all our other redistricting, we have a lot more students in general in town. So. Anyways, thank you. Any other questions from board members? All right. With that, I'm going to move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business at this time? Old business? All right. When is our next meeting? It's August 26th. Our next meeting is August 26th, 7 p.m. Wishing everybody a great summer. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Rubin and seconded by Mrs. Turnbull. Thank you so much. All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much, everybody, and thanks for everyone coming out on a summer night. We appreciate it.